Another great cleansing tool that is extremely useful is the ability to replace parts of the text of the data that you have. Now, there are really two methods for doing this. One is to use Excel's commands, and one is to use Excel's functions. We're going to take the contacts extract backup file that we've created and save it with the new name so that we can do our new work on it. Save as, and having no imagination, I'm going to call it contacts extract B. In this B file, it doesn't matter what I do because I can always go back to the backup. The two ways of doing replacements of individual characters or strings within your data are firstly to go through Excel's commands or to use Excel's functions. Let's look how we could use the commands. The commands work by looking for a value you've asked for and replacing it with something else. It may be that here in the phone column we've got a lot of these open and closed brackets, and I want to replace those with a different symbol. The first stage is to highlight just that column so that the replacements that we carry out are only taking place down that column. If it needs to happen to more than one column, then simply highlight more than one column. But if you highlight nothing, it will occur on the whole of the data, so every single column and every single row. I then need to bring up the Find and Replace dialog box. We can go through the menus. Here we have Find and Select, and there's Replace. It's much quicker to just do Ctrl H. That way we have a Find What and Replace with What option, and it will only apply to the highlighted column. So in that highlighted column, I'd like to find all the open brackets and replace them with speech marks. Now, if I click Replace, it will replace the first occurrence within that column. If I click Replace All, it will just do them all. And if I'm happy that's what I want, then that's the quickest method. I know we're dealing with an extract here that only has 100 rows, but we could have been dealing with the original data of 75,000 rows or 100,000 rows or 500,000 rows. If we're confident about the replacement, just go Replace All. Don't forget, you've always got your backup to go back to. So Replace All. And it tells me 51 replacements were made, which is pretty much half the records. I then want to do the same column, so I keep it selected, replace the closed bracket with the speech marks, and replace all, and again 51 replacements are made. And I can see in the data I now have speech marks where there were open and closed brackets. That's the straightforward Find and Replace tool. Now if we want to use it on another column, for example the address line 1 here, I might want to sort out these abbreviated road names. I highlight address line 1, bring up the Replace dialog box, Ctrl H, and I want to replace RD with road. Now in the extra options, you can force this to match the case, in which case it would only be looking for uppercase R, lowercase d. If you don't match the case, it will find R and D in that address line 1. I'm going to leave match case off for the moment and just condense the options there. Before I click Replace All, just watch this Via Cordona there. The reason I'm asking you to watch that is because it has an R and a D in it, which is what I'm replacing. So Replace All done, we've made 9 replacements. And you can see the RD in Via Cordona appears to have disappeared. That's just because the column's not wide enough. And we can see in the middle, it's put the word road. This is a good reason for having a backup. Although, because I've just done it, I can do undo. Make sure I go back and make the replacement undo. There we are, Cordona. This is where you need to be a little bit more careful. I'm going to go into the replace again. This time, I'm going to tell it to match the case. It has to be an uppercase R and a lowercase d, which should leave my Via Cordona alone. Replace all. Okay, only 4 replacements this time. That is a major difference between 11 and 4, which means that there were 7 replacements in the middle of words where R and D appeared, and not the RD that's at the end. Be very careful when using Find and Replace. Particularly here, we had 100 rows, we could tell something wasn't quite right. But when you're doing this on hundreds of thousands of rows, if it finds 50,000 replacements, do you know it's made them all correctly? So be a little bit careful with the data that you're playing with. So the same, I'm going to leave the match case on and change CT full stop into caught, replace all, nothing to match. Because I've put C and a capital T, and it should be a lowercase t, replace all, 7 replacements. Need to widen that slightly, and I can see caught there. And then we would continue with avenue, again keeping the match case, AVE full stop, and then street, ST, there'll be lots of those. ST replaced with street, replace all, 13 replacements. The find and replace dialog box is a great way of making mass changes. The caveats really are to make sure you highlight the column that you want the changes to be made in, and then be careful about what you say you want to replace with what, and do you need it to match the case. As you've seen here, we tried RD without matching the case, and it ended up changing 7 data values wrongly. So you could end up with worse data than you want to have. So you're trying to tidy things up, and you're actually making it worse. Be a little bit careful, but it is a great tool. It saves you going through every single record and rewriting DR to DRIVE, the next DR to DRIVE, because we simply come into our find and replace dialog box, we've highlighted the correct column, we type in exactly what we want to replace, gone for match case again, so it has to be D uppercase, R lowercase, and then full stop, and we replace that with the word drive, replace all, and 8 replacements are made. Remember, that's 8 out of 100, so that's 8% of your data. So if you had 100,000 records, 1 million records, that is a lot of replacements that are done in a jiffy, save you manually going through each one. So that's method number 1, the find and replace commands within Excel itself.